Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview here on Coin Bureau from my humble abode. And today I've got a very special guest. I have got Mo Shaikh. He is the CEO and co-founder of Aptos Labs, which is, of course, the developer behind the Aptos blockchain. So, Mo, welcome to the Coin Bureau.
Thank you for having me, sir. Really
So,
appreciate it, and excited to be on
pleasure
the show
having,
together.
pleasure having you on, man. So, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. I want to dive into Aptos. I want to dive into the layer one space and what everything is building in the ecosystem. But I think it's important, especially for, obviously most people will heard about Aptos, if they're in crypto for more than a month, right? But for those who just starting out, or maybe for those who've heard about it but don't know exactly what it's about and how it differentiates itself, can you explain in your own words what is Aptos and how your approach is unique?
Sure. So Aptos started off many years ago inside the walls of a small company called Facebook. In fact, it was still called Facebook at the time. And we were thinking, Facebook was thinking about how do you take payment systems and advance them to where they need to be for the internet. And eventually, you probably heard about the Libra or the DM project, which existed for quite some time. We had some challenges launching that network publicly, despite having built one of the best blockchains out there in the market. And when we realized we have this amazing opportunity to take this technology forward, my co-founder Avery, myself, along with an amazing group of engineers and builders, were able to leave Facebook and continue on that mission. We raised $200 million in our seed round, 200 in our Series A, led by folks like A16Z, working closely with Chris Dixon and others, with PayPal, Coinbase, and a bunch of other folks supporting us. And today we built one of the fastest blockchains out there in market. We have sub-second latency. So Nick, if you're in, let's say, some part of the world, let's say Dubai, and I'm in New York, and you wanted to send money over to me, that money would move instantly, under 1 second from end-to-end finality. And it would cost a thousandth of a penny. And when we think about the world that we want to live in, we want a globally connected economy. And that's Aptos's mission. But in order to bring that to life, you need a network that is incredibly powerful. And we're very proud to have that at Aptos.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, there's 2 points you raised there I want to come back to. So obviously, yeah, you say you had challenges in working Libra / yeah, you're not taken to market. What exactly were those? In terms of, is it because of the structures of a big company like Facebook, or anything else in particular?
I think when we were at Facebook, we looked at all the different blockchains that are out there. In fact, I started my journey off in the Ethereum ecosystem, and so we knew what we wanted to see, but we didn't see these protocols moving and evolving at the rate that we need to for someone like Facebook, 4 billion users, right? And so we decided to build our own blockchain. And so if you go back to kind of where we are today, that blockchain is the same exact work that we did inside of Facebook. The challenge for us was not necessarily the tech. We're able to solve very complex issues like the trilemma, think about things like latency, and build our own sort of smart contract language called Move, and we can talk a little bit about that. But the most difficult thing was actually getting the buy-in from all the stakeholders and constituents across the world to let us launch this thing. And so being able to leave and do it independently was just a better path for us, but a path that preserved this amazing tech that was built. But of course, we've advanced on it many times over, so we can get into that a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, the stakeholders are very excited. I mean, 200 million seed. That's pretty crazy for a crypto project. But okay, so let's move on now. Obviously, the ecosystem is the crypto ecosystem has evolved since you guys launched initially, and right now, and I'm sure you also see there's a lot of discussion going on, right? Like there is a lot of potential saturation in terms of a lot of crypto projects out there, and saturation in terms of attention and also just like block space, like potentially oversupply of block space across the L1 and L2 space. And I've seen, and sure you may have seen some of these discussions also in panels and in conferences and everything. It's like, do we need another L1? That argument. And what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Nick. When we think about layer ones, and again, going back to the days where we realized there wasn't a layer one that can support the throughput, with the latency that's needed to move not only the world's financial assets, but also bring additional types of transactions on chain. And so let's break that down a little bit, right? Let's take a look at what are blockchains really good for. They're good for moving assets. And what have those assets been typically? It's been confined to a very small number of users. Maybe, if we're lucky, there's actually, let's say, 50 million individuals using blockchains for on-chain transactions based on a lot of analysis that we've done. And there obviously even in that we believe that there are probably a good amount of bots. However, look at the number of people that transact using the internet today. It's measured in billions. And if we want billions of people to be able to move over to blockchains, we need to be ready to support that. Some of the protocols today are designed with, not the best first principles. They don't scale according to, the amount of activity on that network. If you look at Ethereum, gas fees become very expensive when more people are on the road. And that doesn't necessarily make sense. That's not a public utility. If you look at other protocols, right, some of them, they start to fall apart once there's more than 500 transactions taking place at the same time. For us, if you want, 100,000 people using the network seamlessly, if you want to be able to support 1 million transactions per second, we're not there yet. Well, the existing blockchains, we're not there yet. Aptos is ready for that. And so some of the testing that we've actually done in a real life simulation, we can actually support unparalleled amount of transactions so that billions of people can one day use a blockchain versus the few hundred people that might be using a blockchain per second today. And so in order to get to that point, when we have conversations with some of the world's largest companies, we have a very good relationship with Google. And so some of the conversations we've had there is, how do you get to 1 million transactions per second? Right? Think about the number of searches that are taking place. Imagine you want those searches to be validated on chain. That's an incredibly high amount of throughput that you need to be able to support. Imagine you have searches running on chain, payments moving on chain, all sorts of DeFi applications running on chain. That's a lot of block space and demand that hasn't really come on chain yet. But we're starting to see really good signs, and I'm happy to kind of expand into some of the work that we're doing that indicate that demand is pretty much right there knocking on our doors.
Okay, cool. So I guess the answer there is basically, the sense that Aptos' solution is basically what that you guys think is ideal to get to the scale needed to support what you see as the requirement for mass adoption in whatever form that takes.
That's right. If you're a Web2 developer, you may not want to necessarily build in the existing Web3 stacks of the previous generation. Aptos is a Web3 generation blockchain, and the third generation blockchain, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But previously, you're not going to risk running a production grade application for 100 million people on the previous generation blockchains, right? And so that's preventing the next generation of entrepreneurs building new products and applications. And so if you provide that environment that Aptos provides that's similar to cloud infrastructure SLAs, then you can actually get new applications that indicate obviously new use cases for blockchains. And so we're providing that environment. We're providing not only through things like Aptos Build that make it easy for, let's say Nick is a developer and wants to build the next social application, you can do it a much easier way on Aptos than you could in any other environment before. And so this third generation of blockchains with Aptos leading the way is very powerful for that.
Okay, so expanding on this third generation environment that you think is developers the right to build on, right? Obviously, one of the main things that separates Aptos and other blockchains that run is Move, right? The programming language that you guys, the smart contract language that you guys have developed that came out of DM and Libra. Now, obviously, you've got the current format, and I know we can also talk about Move 2, which you just launched as well. But firstly, can you explain why Move is such an important development for the blockchain space? And then secondly, we'll expand a little bit more on what Move 2's got going for it.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, Nick. And I think if you want to have a blockchain that can continue to scale, you need to have many pieces that work really well together. And so Move was something that was designed from the ground up, right inside of Facebook. And it provides all the ingredients of the modern programming languages while it's being tailored for the requirements that are found on blockchains today. And it includes very interesting things like generic types, a data ownership model that has automatic memory management, modular encapsulation, and many more other things. But it also comes with the Move virtual machine, which provides unprecedented security in its approach to bytecode verification. And that's really important, again, when you're thinking about the safety and security if you're of running applications for the masses. And so, as we think about code being executed in a self-descriptive environment, it can be translated back to readable source code. And this only exists for Move-based chains. And Aptos Move is actually even more special. It has something called the Move Prover. The Move Prover is a formal verification engine, also designed in Facebook. In fact, the inventor of the Move Prover is on our team. And what that basically does is it allows for smart contracts to be sort of screened before they go into a production environment. That's very important, right? Imagine you're writing a smart contract that could one day represent billions of dollars of a stable coin or a DeFi asset. You want that level of safety and security. And so Aptos Move has the formal verification engine, the Move Prover, and it is a complete game changer. In fact, a lot of other blockchains are getting excited about Move. There's new Move-based chains that are coming online, and all of them are starting to pick Aptos Move as the canonical move. And that's really important because it shows that our move is one of the most important things out there in this next generation of blockchains. Separately, you brought up an interesting point. We're not going to settle on Move 1. We've actually announced something called Move 2 recently at our developer conference in Korea at Aptos Experience. And so with Move 2, you get a bunch of cool things on top of that. There's an extension to the language that has new features that are specifically make it easier to write DeFi applications, and we can share more details with the audience afterwards. There's a new Move compiler, which based on architecture unified with the Move Prover, will allow for faster innovation in the language and the verification space. Again, talking about that safety and that security that we talked about. And it has things like dynamic dispatch for fungible assets, which makes it much easier to register asset-specific transfer functions. And think about what you can build as a DEX, for example. It's going to be supercharged with Move 2, and that is just going to be an absolute game changer for anyone building DeFi applications. There's other cool things like the intent builder that allows for dynamic composability of application logic right on the client side and submit it as a single transaction, which is important. You don't want a bunch of different transactions running back and forth on the protocol. It can get heavy. You want one transaction to be able to encapsulate that, and the intent builder does that. We had things like the Move linter and the Move formatter tools that basically complement the existing tool set for, again, enhanced safety, security, and reliability of the protocol. But if you want to dive deep into the tech, and I know your audience loves that, we'll definitely share more links so they can go deeper on that too.
Yeah, we can share all the links as well as your blog. And then also, I think one of your researchers had a very good breakdown, a long tweet to what Move 2 stuff. And I think we'll definitely share that as well.
Okay, welcome to the Bro Crypto Podcast. I'm Chadimus Maximus, go by MaxChad100 on Twitter.
And I am Gigadick, the dude with the biggest PNL in all of crypto.
Bro, say what? My PNL is 100% bigger than yours.
Bro, please. I was longing Doge and drinking neat Belvedere while you were still spot buying BTC on Mount Gox, bro.
Bro, you're still driving a 2020 Aventador. Where's your Bugatti at?
Bro, when bonk hits $1, I'm going to be rocking a super yacht while you're still stuck in traffic, bro.
The Bro Crypto Podcast is sponsored by the Coin Bureau Deals page. If you're looking for trading fee discounts of up to 70% and sign-up bonuses of up to $100,000 and amazing discounts on hardware wallets, then don't be a bro, be in the know, and check out the link in the description below. And now, back to the show.
Bro Crypto Podcast. Bro.
Coming back to the ecosystem now, I'm just curious in terms of what are some of the most exciting projects? Because I think you have over 170 already building onto with Aptos. What are some of the most exciting projects right now? And are you guys focusing broadly, or are you focusing on particular sectors or narratives? So maybe I can dive deeper. Just curious in that.
It's a great question. I mean, like watch your show often, and I love how you kind of break down the different industries. We love all of them, but for us, our focus kind of goes back to our earliest days. Inside of Facebook, we were focused on building a network that disrupts the financial system, and today that's where our focus is. If you get a payment system that is completely competitive to what's out there today, that can be very valuable in the market. Aptos's mission is to have the globally connected economy available for everyone, making it super easy to move economic value. Sometimes that economic value might be a meme coin. Sometimes it might be a stable coin. Sometimes it might be a central bank digital currency. And at some point, actually, we're here today, it might be a capital markets good. And we support all of these things very seamlessly. So whether it's thinking about that meme coin transaction, when I don't know if you saw the article that came out the other day with Mark Cuban and Elon Musk really praising Dogecoin, meme coins on Aptos could be far more efficient than anywhere else. Similarly, Tether announced that they'll be launching USDT on Aptos, and so if you wanted to move money across the world, USDT on Aptos will be the fastest moving dollar and the cheapest moving dollar, making it incredibly efficient to make payments or peer-to-peer money movement come to life. And most recently, we actually just announced we announced our partnership with Franklin Templeton, where they launched a money market fund called Benji on Aptos. In fact, their money market fund also will now be the most efficient money market funds in capital markets on our network. You can earn yield continuously and receive that yield based on US Treasuries faster than anywhere else, more transparently than anywhere else. And so, if you take all these pieces of meme coins, stable coins, or capital markets goods, all of them running on Aptos make us the place to be for the globally connected economy. Now, once you have money, or the most important part, assets that are meaningful, what can you do? You can do a lot of interesting things. Imagine you want to supercharge AI or have agent-to-agent payments. We're working with IO.net, who you probably heard of, that are solving these types of problems. We actually launched a bunch of different initiatives with companies like Overlay, who are thinking about validating AI-based content directly on chain, so focused on the AI area. We've thought about gaming, and while we think working with someone like Google, where we launched Game On. So let's say you have a game that's already running on Google Cloud Infrastructure. Now you can introduce Web3 assets directly with GCP and with Google using Aptos and Game On. So you don't have to worry about picking a blockchain, picking your asset and custody provider, an indexer, so on and so forth. All of that is going to be available right with Google. And so gaming is going to be really powerful with global economies. And then, of course, if you think about social and media and entertainment, all of these things are coming to life on Aptos as well. We actually announced a partnership with NBC Universal recently, where they're thinking about they have 4 different assets: Fandango, where you can buy movie tickets; Rotten Tomatoes, where you can maybe praise your movie or complain about your movie. You can also go on Peacock and stream assets or stream IP. And of course, they have theme parks, which are a lot of fun to visit. Imagine being able to have a loyalty system that really understands what kind of movies Nick goes to at the movie theater, what kind of rides he likes to ride, and of course, when he's at home kicking it with his friends, what movies he's watching or what shows he's watching on Peacock. Then NBC can target and share content that's actually customized for Nick versus going through the clunky ads model that exists today. That's really powerful, and that's how we're thinking about the media and entertainment and consumer space. So all of these things end up becoming very exciting for us, and we work closely with partners to power all these things. But you can only power it once you actually have money and the world of finance tied in together with each one of these categories.
Okay. Yeah. So no matter what industry or sector it's in, as long as it's value transfer of some description, Aptos can do it and solve it. So hopefully it's meme coins and not CBDCs though.
I mean, it's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm here for the meme coins, man. I have a crazy collection actually. But what I love to see is how do you make existing meme coins where there's really amazing community and supercharge those meme coins and make them go faster. Layer 0 and wormhole bridges are live on Aptos. And so imagine, if Mark Cuban actually wants to make Dogecoin a payment mechanism for his venue, then you need to be able to move those meme coins really damn fast. If you bring those communities over on Aptos and wrap them, we can make Dogecoin really fast. Dogecoin on steroids would be amazing. I'm being careful not to inspire a new meme coin, by the way. And we're working closely with the Bitcoin community. Munib and Stacks, we've loved what they've been doing. I know you've kind of talked about them in the past as well. But wrapped Bitcoin will be on Aptos soon as well. And if you're paying for your cab ride using Bitcoin, if that's what you want to do, you can do that really fast and much more cheaply on Aptos with your Bitcoin versus actually transacting on the Bitcoin network. And we think the Bitcoin community is a very powerful one that we want to continue to collaborate with.
Okay, go ahead, man. Now coming back to this as well, obviously, because you mentioned all these sectors and industries that could benefit and utilize Aptos as a global settlement layer for value. And obviously your experience is quite shaped by this because you have quite a diverse background, right, in terms of where you've worked. So BCG, BlackRock, Facebook, etc. So you obviously have a unique insight here. And I'm curious then in terms of what do you think are the biggest challenges to Web3 adoption by these Web2 and TradFi entities?
It's an excellent question, and just to make sure I kind of understand it, right? Like you're basically highlighting a very important point. What is the convergence of kind of this world that we built in Web3 with this massive world of Web2 that's kind of just been sitting there watching, and we see that happening really, really fast. Some of our earliest investors like Apollo and PayPal, they have real use cases out of market. PayPal with their stablecoin, Apollo with tokenized assets on chain. And, most recently, as I mentioned, we talked about Franklin Templeton as well. And so, I love that you're asking this, Nick, because everyone on the sidelines has seen that. In fact, we co-invested with BlackRock into a company called Securitize that's focused on tokenizing, financial products, doing it in a safe, compliant way. And Securitize can issue these assets on the fastest blockchain, and making Aptos a competitor with DTCC and other capital markets networks. And so now imagine you have money market fund issued by, let's say, Franklin Templeton or any other institution. And let's say someone like AAVE, who is going beyond the EVM and announced that they're going to be launching on Aptos soon. AAVE can actually use collateral from BlackRock one day, or Franklin Templeton, or some other large institutional grade issuer. Imagine what that can do for DeFi. It can make it more trusted. More people can come into this space because they don't have to worry about, am I holding a basket of goods that isn't collateralized by U.S. Treasuries or a large financial institution? This is something that I think will bring in a lot more people. And, we're not talking about the institutions coming anymore. They're here, right? Franklin's issuing already. BlackRock's launched BIDL on Ethereum. And so all this convergence of the Web3 and the Web2 world is happening right in front of our very eyes. And it's starting to happen on Aptos. And I think that is a massive multi-trillion dollar unlock. Think about that, right? Like if you look at Swift, by the way, just alone, Swift has, they move money and they move capital markets things. DTCC does something similar.
Yep.
How much money do you think moves on Swift in one day?
Well,
if you had to guess.
Jogging my run out of that shit. It must be in the trillions, right?
I know you do your research, man. They move $5 trillion a day in one day.
And inefficient, painful. And if you've ever had to do a Swift wire, it's the most inefficient, painful, slow, system ever. And I can't imagine 5 people moving $5 trillion. That's crazy.
And I bet you love moving money on Aptos. It's simple, right? And so imagine that amount of money moving on Aptos. Game over, right? Like people get excited about TVL as a metric. We love that metric, but that's counted in hundreds of millions, a couple billion. Imagine 5 trillion. That's what we're focused on.
Yeah, no, I'm mostly focused on the FHL of the project, the FHL ratio.
Tell me more about that.
You know, the FHL ratio, the founder hair length ratio. Aptos has got the biggest out there, man.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
No, no,
I let the hair out earlier in the show. It was getting in my face. But,
no, it's cool. It's more bullish on the FHL ratio, I'm not going to lie. But just coming back to something you pointed out there, it's a slight tangent as well, because I remember we did an AAVE review, and one of the points was that AAVE, I think Aptos submitted a proposal for AAVE V3 to move to deploy on Movement blockchain, to deploy on Aptos. I'm curious as to how far ahead that process is, if you know.
Yeah, it's the AAVE community. They are such an amazing community. They've been building, for almost a decade now in this space, which is unbelievable. And Stani's done an amazing job and of course many others in his community have done an amazing job pushing things forward. We've been studying them. We see them as a darling ecosystem project of all of Web3 and representative of what DeFi should be. And so when we started chatting with Stani and understanding his vision to go beyond kind of the EVM and how that can grow the AAVE community in a much bigger way, we just kind of knew we had to work with them. And so we did, to your point, we put a proposal out. The proposal's been really well received by the community. We've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of responding to those questions and thoughts. And, hopefully things will be moving in a bigger announcement coming soon. But we're working closely with the AAVE DAO and that group, and it's been an absolute pleasure, collaborating with some of the most senior veterans of the EVM world, and really embracing Aptos and really embracing Aptos Move as this next era for Web3.
Yeah, I know you don't want to throw shade at other ecosystems, but I am curious as to your thoughts on what's going on within the Ethereum ecosystem right now, because obviously there's a lot of FUD and uncertainty with regards to that, specifically on the layer based, layer 2 proliferation, developing in solidity, and the value of the ecosystem itself in terms of ETH as an asset. Do you have a take on that as a Alt L1, one of the predominant Alt L1s out there?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I think the Ethereum community is what made me. Being in the throes of consensus and working on, everything from MetaMask, Truffle, Infura, and all these products showed how powerful Ethereum could be. And we've seen a meteoric rise, obviously, in that community building amazing products. Now, when you think about these systems at scale for, masses, Web 2 masses, we haven't really seen the development come to life. We're starting to see good solutions. I saw Vitalik the other day in Singapore, and we're excited about his sort of vision coming to life. We're pushing our vision at Aptos in a very different way. We think there should be just one layer and making it very simple for the developer to build. And managing multiple components makes it often very difficult for a builder, for an entrepreneur, to manage this complex stack. And so it will be interesting to see how Ethereum continues to evolve. I haven't sold any of my ETH. I'm long the Ethereum community. I always will be. But we're proposing a very different solution in market with a community that works closely with the Ethereum community. Right? We don't think that you should run. You don't need to run your protocol only in one place. You can actually get more value by running in multiple places. And so, we live in a multi-chain world. We're very collaborative, not only with the Ethereum community and partners like AAVE, but also folks like LivePair, Rarible, who just launched their NFT marketplace on us. All very early core contributors to the Ethereum community. We don't ask people to say no to one community and say yes to another. We want to work with all communities collectively. And it's partly grounded in our beliefs, right? Like we don't think you should have this kind of divisive environment. If you're sitting in Dubai, like we want to work closely with people in Dubai. It's no different than we should work with people in different communities in tech stacks. And so, our goal is to build a better, not only a globally connected economy, but a better connected society as well. And, we don't want people to be choosing between A and B. Instead, we want people to think about A and B. So that's that's our approach, and we're obviously very excited about the Ethereum roadmap, but obviously very excited about the Aptos roadmap as well.
I mean, it's very diplomatic, and you're not trying to throw shade. I appreciate that, and not necessarily. Obviously, Ethereum's got its growing pains and all that, but I'm just coming back to the question more specifically, your view, and this is more broadly around Ethereum's evolution from now, especially with Ben Kuhn's upgrade, and now this expanded universe of layer twos. Do you think that has been net positive or negative for Ethereum's ecosystem? Because obviously you've got this user base and liquidity that's spread out across multiple disconnected L2s as an L1 yourself, right? That's got all the monolithic chain, right? All the value is on one chain. Do you think that was net positive or negative for the Ethereum? Because obviously it will evolve, and we're not third share deep, but I'm curious, the whole point around between the L2s and the one monolithic chain.
Yeah. Man, this is a really good point. And, we could probably have an episode just talking about this for maybe hours. But I'll try to summarize it very quickly. But, when sort of Bitcoin came to life, you had a group of people that really believed in the Bitcoin core values and mission. That group of people saw opportunity in many other different areas, but were inherently sort of limited by Bitcoin's capabilities. Not because of, from a technology perspective, but Bitcoin was so focused on a value and a mission that was so powerful, it didn't really want to do anything else. And that's okay. And that's why we love Bitcoin. Similarly, that evolved to, well, if you want additional functionality, you need smart contracts. And Ethereum was born. And a lot of people from the Bitcoin community that also believed in the Ethereum community, or what Ethereum's mission was, joined that. And then from Ethereum, we saw other interesting applications start to come on board. So no one had to actually say, I'm abandoning all my Bitcoin to go into ETH. It was this and this. And then from Ethereum, we saw, interesting applications and use case and value accrual at the application level, or whether that be DeFi protocols, to Uniswap, AAVE, and many others, to obviously folks like, other ICOs that took place in that ICO cycle. Some of those applications sadly didn't come to fruition the way we would have liked to. And largely that was probably because the technology just wasn't ready. And we saw a demand for another group of protocols that could service those applications. We saw app chains come to life. We saw layer twos come to life. We saw other protocols try to take on these challenges as well, all kind of taking a slightly different approach. And they, so you saw Bitcoin eventually evolved into these app chains, layer twos and whatnot. Today, we took an approach of saying, well, we see the demand for these applications coming to life, and we see obviously financial systems really struggling as they are, and we need a completely new protocol. We need a new L1, and that again goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. But all of these folks should work harmoniously because they're involved in the same mission, in that same Bitcoin vision of we need decentralized infrastructure. We need it to work really damn well. And we see new forms of economies. And we're seeing all that really come to life now with, as simple as it may seem with Dogecoin being accepted by Elon and Mark Cuban, but there is enough value now for this barter economy that we've lived in forever. And we just want to help facilitate and bring that to life. So, regardless of how sort of Ethereum evolves and, this kind of long cycle, it's the same group of people. In fact, the people have gotten larger and along the way, and have accrued more value along the way. There'll be new, winners that accrue even more value by building in these new ecosystems. And, this is where we give, a perspective to the Solana community. Kudos to them for building an amazing sort of environment, beyond the EVM. But even those developers today are realizing, well, we actually need a better environment than the one that existed in Solana, that existed in Ethereum, that may have existed in Bitcoin. And here's Aptos. We're right here for that group. So,
yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good and it's an interesting take as well. Like, we're still early. There's still billions of people who are not even knowing yet, getting involved in Web3 yet, and we're evolving. And there isn't going to necessarily have to be one blockchain to rule them all, right? As new blockchains will come around, and it doesn't mean that the other old ones have got a necessarily wrong approach. It's just that approaches may change based on what the demand for the Web3 space is. So just with you, I want to wind up then as well. In terms of we were both obviously in Singapore, October 2029. You were prior to that at Korea Blockchain, and there was a lot of announcements you guys have there as well. I believe you might be traveling there again soon. So you do spend a lot of time in Asia, and just more on an ecosystem perspective, from what my take from Token was how large and diverse the Asian crypto ecosystem is. And from reading some of your talks at Token 2029, it's like you're quite bullish on the Asian ecosystem, the Asian crypto ecosystem. So just interested, and you've obviously now, I think you were just announced yesterday, something the Hash Palette acquisition in Japan. So if you enter Japan as well. So I'm just excited, interested to learn about what's going on that side of the globe from your perspective of crypto in Asia.
Man, it's such an excellent point. I mean, we're based right here in the Bay Area, and you're right. I spend a lot of time in Asia, so a lot of flights to your side of the world, whether that be East Asia, Southeast Asia, so on and so forth. And the reason we're there is because we see a massive appetite of developers, builders, and users in the Web3 ecosystem. We started off in Korea. We have amazing partnerships with South Korea Telco. We are the preferred blockchain for T-Wallet, which is a Web3 wallet that they have built. So if you have a DeFi application and want to tap into 30 million users that SKT has subscribers to, that's right there. Massive opportunity for Web3. When we think about going beyond Korea, where we spent last 3 years really focusing our energy, we started looking at a bunch of different pockets, whether that be areas like Vietnam, where there's an amazing group of developers and talent that we're collaborating with, to places like India, where there's also a group of entrepreneurs and builders that are really taking Web3 forward. We'll have some exciting announcements coming up, and I'll follow up with you on that afterwards. But most recently, as you called out, we realized Japan is a very powerful market. In fact, the biggest trade pair that exists in the world is the US dollar to the Japanese yen. And people don't realize that. Japan is also the fourth largest economy. People forgot about that. And we think there is a lot to do. In fact, regulation is starting to support crypto there as well.
Most recently, week, right? Yeah,
that's right.
This week,
that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when I went there about a year ago, we had a very fortunate opportunity to meet with the former prime minister. And his view was, we think there's a massive opportunity for Web3 and AI in Japan to be a big player there. And so we've gone back multiple times, and we met partners like Hashport, who had built Hash Palette, a blockchain, and for Japan. And so we started spending time with them and went really deep into understanding what is their vision here. One of it was consumer adoption. It was around payments, around loyalty points, around, what does Nick do when he's consuming things, when he's walking around the streets of Tokyo? And so we started to go very deep and realized we think that we can actually help bring this to life with Aptos infrastructure. And we ended up collaborating with them in a way that Hash Palette will now be taken over by the Aptos network. And that means Hash Palette token holders will receive APT through a process that's been shared. But most importantly, Hash Palette was running the Osaka World Expo for 2025 as the official blockchain wallet. Now that will be Aptos taking that over. There's 28 million people expected to show up at the World Expo. They'll all have wallets with Aptos powering their blockchain experience seamlessly without them ever knowing it. So if they're paying for things at the restaurant or collecting loyalty points and stamps that are all NFTs, it'll be happening on the Aptos network. Super excited about that. And I think one of the most underrated things that people are going to find out about very soon. And that's going to open up Japan in a very big way for us. So it's not just Hash Palette and Osaka World Expo, but we're now starting to speak with some of the world's largest banks in Japan. In fact, I'll be out in Osaka and Tokyo next week, and I'm looking forward to hopefully sharing a lot more work that we're going to be doing in that country.
So TradFi bros will be happy to learn they can do the yen carry trade on Aptos.
I love it. Yes, bring on the Patagonia vest. Let's go.
There we go. Cool, Mo. So I just want to quickly round up with a few more, just two more questions. So before this interview, I obviously reached out to our community. I said, our community, you had a lot of questions. Obviously, many of them were related to your difference between other blockchains and Sugi and stuff. But there was one of them that I thought was particularly interesting. That's because now consumer hardware devices, right? You've obviously, one of them is this Jambo phone, which you guys launched with collaboration with Aptos. But one of our members had specific questions like, are you planning to launch an exclusive flagship consumer hardware device similar to Sugi and Solana, i.e., not exclusive, because Jambo is not exclusive to Aptos. I know they work with a few other projects and platforms. Are you planning any sort of exclusive hardware device in description?
I love the community questions, man. It's a good group you got there. All the hard ones. I think our view on hardware devices is they are incredibly valuable as the user experience or surface for individuals and obviously from a distribution perspective. Now the thing for us is, we think hardware is really hard. Right? Yeah. That's literally the first word, the first half of that word. And when we look at large companies like Amazon that have tried to build hardware devices, very large companies like Facebook, and even companies like LG that had mobile devices, even they have realized it may not be worth it for them to play in that game. And so doing hardware and building our own device or having kind of an exclusive partnership doesn't really make much economical sense, and we think may not be the best use of our sources and capital. Use of capital. What we do think is really important is working with partners like Jambo. They have a massive presence and community in places in continents like Africa. They're looking to expand into other parts of the world, and there's many hardware manufacturers all over the world that already have devices in these markets, whether they be low-cost phones like Jambo's $99 phone to maybe something a little bit more expensive. And so we prefer to work with, the existing hardware manufacturers and issuers, but we don't want to force them to go exclusive, right? Imagine, you went to a hardware device and like, hey, please only run on my telco network and no other network. Well, I don't think that would be very successful for a hardware device. Only run on AT&T or only run on Do, right? Or Etislot. That wouldn't make sense for them. And so we don't want to handcuff anyone. We want to work with all device manufacturers, and we want to make sure they have the right to launch wherever they feel best. But we're incredibly confident that when they do launch on Aptos, similar to how 5G is a really good network, Aptos is one of the most powerful networks that they will love to work with. And so that approach is working really well for us. And appreciate the community question, and hopefully that answers that point.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. You've got a wide array of partners you can work with and devices they can have in people's hands if you're trying to work with those who really have devices out there and to try and develop your own market, your own sell your own, and meet production requirements for your own. So the focus on the network, fund developers will focus on their own products. So let's just round up this interview. Obviously, you've got an exciting roadmap for sure. You talked about Me Too. We talked about all the things you guys are working on in Asia as well. But what else should we be looking out for? What are you most excited about? And what should our community looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cool things that are coming up on the roadmap, whether that be things like Raptor, Move 2, and many other technical advances that we're doing that just continue to push this network way beyond anything else out there in market. But I would say, the most exciting thing for us is really going back to those roots. A globally connected economy means that money is moving seamlessly. And money doesn't always have to be a stable coin or a meme coin. It can be decentralized financial applications. And so very, very much excited about the world of DeFi continuing to expand. And I think you raised an excellent point. That world of DeFi collaborating with the multi-trillion-dollar world of traditional finance and seeing what happens there. That's a market that I think is so completely untapped. And whoever gets that right and we think Aptos is going to get that right, is going to be really well positioned for the next 5 years in Web3.
Well, go, Matt. That's a great way to end off to know. Thanks, Matt. This is really informative. I learned a lot about Aptos. I mean, obviously, there's obviously so much more to learn. I mean, we could get into deep technical, philosophical, talk everything from. But I think that this has been enough. But intro to everyone, all our fans, to get the first taste of Aptos. And hopefully we can, if we do want to, we can have a broader conversation around the tech at a later point. And it'd be great to see you when you come around to catch up IRL.
I would love that, and appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate your community tapping in and continuing to be so curious about the space and learning about Aptos. And looking forward to the next episode being in person. So I'll hold you to it.
Gasker, when you come into the office, will be a good shot, man.